Okay, all welcome to my channel. This is actually a different channel to my normal content. I normally upload about technology, gadgets and things like that, and lately I've been doing a lot of content on musical MIDI instruments. But for the longest time I've always wanted to have another channel where I concentrate on like EDC items, everyday carry, everyday gadgets, knives and things like that, because I really in the past year and a half really got back into knives. And this product here really spurred me on to just get out my camera, get out my equipment, lighting, and just start my channel up, because I wanted to just go over this knife. I haven't seen a single video on it yet. There's a couple of posts on Reddit and some bits under Maxace's, obviously their website and Facebook channel or whatever. But no one's really done a video on this knife yet, and I just wanted to do that because I think this thing is absolutely amazing. It's just, yeah, spoiler alert, it's amazing. Yeah, you can just go and buy one or just switch off the video. But as far as I'm concerned, this thing is absolutely stunning. So I wanted to give this information, as much information as I can on this incredible knife, and just to give some people some more information. I don't have every single bit of information on this knife, but what I have I will share with you, okay? Right, so let's just get into it. Obviously it's been taken out of the box because I only have one of them. It comes in the white box, which Maxace normally use for their premium or higher priced knives, okay? As usual, it comes in a really nice padded pooch, I would say. You get this, it doesn't come with this lanyard thing on it. I just put it on here to stop this rolling off the table or me losing it. But this is obviously the tool that you use if you wanted to tighten up or just remove these outer parts of the knife. I'll get into that in a minute, but basically that's what it comes with in the box. You get some additional hardware. I'm not exactly sure what they're made out of. I'm assuming some type of steel. I don't think they're titanium. You get this cloth. I never seem to use them. I always have my own standard cloths that I use. And the knife came in this plastic piece of bag and nicely and securely wrapped up, okay? So that's just the minor parts covered. Let me get those out of the way and concentrate on the main part of this video. Now, this is the Maxace Blacklight 03. It is, if you don't already know, a single action OTF. It's their second edition. And obviously the first one, and this one you could say as well, is paying homage to the Microtech single action OTF that they came out with. They had like 6 versions of that. So this is paying homage to it. And the first one that Maxace made, which is called the Draco, when I first saw it, I didn't like it. I didn't like the design. Microtech Halo, that's the knife I was thinking of, yeah. When I first saw the Maxace Draco, I did not like the design. I didn't think it looked very powerful, and I thought it was very dangerous, and I didn't like the fact it didn't have a pocket knife. At that stage, I was pretty new to single action OTFs, not double action, but single. And when I looked further into it, I actually began to really fall in love with that knife. I really liked it. But the main thing that was stopping me from buying it was about this function here, where people say that it's a little bit fiddly to actually activate the knife, and when it does deploy, people are having issues saying that the blade doesn't fully lock out. Okay, so I was umming and ahhing to the point of I just didn't get one, and I ummed and ahed so long that they basically sold out. So it's probably a blessing in disguise, yeah. In the meantime, I did get myself a single action OTF made by Heratech. That one, I was very happy. I actually love that knife. It's really like my top 3, one of my top 3 knives in my very small collection. Anyway, so getting back to this, and every now and then I was browsing the Maxace website. For the past year or so, year and a half, 2 years, haven't really seen anything that was really amazing, that really tempted me, apart from that Draco, as I said. And then Metal Complex, he was doing a video about a Maxace like Japanese style fixed blade, which looked stunning, by the way. And that made me go to the Maxace website that I hadn't been to for a few weeks. And then I noticed this thing on their site and I was, what? I immediately started looking into it because I knew exactly what it was. I knew it was a new revision of the Draco, but they had renamed it to fall in line with their new way they're marketing themselves. Use, you know, with Blacklight 01, Blacklight 02, and so on and so forth. And I was immediately blown away because I think the design, the overall shape is the same as the Draco, but they've just really contoured these edges a little bit more to just give it a little bit of more of a, I don't know, I can't describe it, but it just looks amazing. And when they have, and then they had added the copper accents on this particular version, which is the lower price version of the 4. And I immediately was intrigued. I thought, wow, they did a really good job. And the first thing that sprung into my mind is, I hope, okay, there were two things. The first thing was, oh no, they kept this design. They kept this design that was lifted, you could say, from the Halo. But did they improve on it? And secondly, did they improve on the lockout of the blade to make sure it fully locks out every time you activate this button, okay? So those were the two things on my mind. And I thought, listen, Maxace is not going to redesign this knife, spend all that, invest all that time and finance in redesigning and re-releasing another knife to not improve on those 2 points I just made. So I thought they must have, okay? So a little bit more investigation and I'm talking maybe a couple of minutes or maybe less than an hour. And I just bought this thing. I bought it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith in Maxace and hope they have addressed these issues. And it was really the design that really pushed me over the edge, because in comparison to the original Draco, I think this is absolutely sweet. I would go as far as to say this actually looks even better than all the versions of the Halos, okay? And I mean, I'm not a big, massive knife. I really love knives. The past year and a half, I would say, May 2024 is when I really got back into knives. I've always loved knives and guns as a kid, and I just collected them very casually. And like I said, May 2024 is when I really got into it and got completely hooked on this, in this hobby, so to speak. So yeah, when I saw this, it did something for me, and I thought, you know what, let's go for it. So I bought it, I got it yesterday, and I thought, you know what, I really need to film this knife and let people in the community know what I think about it. Okay, so most people watching this video probably already know about this particular type of knife and Maxace's previous version. Here, what I really like and what they've done on this black oxidized coating here is they kept their logo really subtle. And on this side, you can see I'm not sure, I think this is the particular collection that this knife falls under with the logo there. And I think they've done a really good job. One of the downsides, actually what I'm going to do is start with the downsides, the things I don't like about this knife, even though for me this is actually a 10 out of 10 and it's actually my #1 knife in my collection. More about that in a second. Let's start with the things I don't like. And what I don't like, I wish this was not black oxidation. I wish they used a DLC surface treatment on this one. Even though it's 70-75 aluminium, which I commend them for, I think it's excellent, rather than using 60-61. They should just use DLC. Now they're doing DLC on the top 2 high-end versions, which are just under $900 US. And they're also using titanium. But why can they not just apply DLC? Just make every black knife you make DLC. And this isn't just the Maxace. I think this should just be the industry standard. And I'm happy to pay more for that much more durable surface treatment. I just wish they would do that, because I know over time this is going to wear. And you know, you can get some finishes where they're PVD'd and they're kind of like a weathered PVD. And I actually don't mind that because it kind of looks weird. It looks worn, battle worn, so to speak, from the factory. And I kind of like that. Actually, I've got a knife here, I can show you that. Kind of has that. This is manufactured by Rayat. And I don't know, you can see that. It's got a kind of weathered, kind of worn look already. And this I actually don't mind. This is PVD surface treated. And I don't mind this one, yeah? Because it's going to, all the wear marks are going to really add to the character of this finish. So I really, for this, I really think Tashi did an excellent job with React on that one. So I wish they did a DLC coating. That's my one gripe, okay? Another thing, yeah. I wish, it's not really a gripe, but I hope they allow us to buy different inserts so that we can remove these casings out here and just replace it with, for example, I would really like to have a Damascus finish perforated insert that I can put in here and replace this copper, because the copper is going to patina over time and I'm not a big fan of that. I know a lot of people are, but I'm not a big fan of that. So I would like to have different types of materials and finishes on the inserts that I can put in this knife, yeah? At the moment it's copper. And even if they don't do Damascus, because it might be a bit expensive, even if they can do what PMP did on this, I think it's called an Anubis. This is not Damascus, but it's just heat treated, flame blasted or whatever to create that kind of effect. And I'm not really pulling it off here on the camera, but on the website, this looks kind of a little bit cheap and not really great. And they did it on the pocket clip there as well. But in hand, if you have this knife out in the sunshine, outside in the sunshine, it really looks amazing. Yeah. So I would like to have something like that, if not Damascus, at least heat treated in this way. And I could put that in there. Okay. So anyway, that's a very minor, very, very minor thing. Okay. Right. So let's talk a little bit about the knife. Like I said, the casings is made out of 70-75 aluminium. You have a black oxidized finish, copper insert. Now, I don't know if these elements here are titanium. I think they are, but I'm not sure, okay? In terms of these actual bolts or whatever you want to call them here, I'm not sure what they're made out of, probably some kind of steel. And I would assume the button and the safety and all of these bolts here are also made out of some kind of stainless steel. Okay, right. So, as you know, with the Draco and what they've carried over from the Halo, you have this activation button, and there's some interesting things I want to move on and talk about now about this knife, yeah? Because a lot of people actually say, yeah, looks cool, too dangerous, no pocket clip, blah, blah, blah. And I understand that. And in a way, I would say, yes, this knife is dangerous if you don't pay attention to how it fully works, yeah? I'm not a super expert, but yeah, I have been paying attention because, like I said, I also have a single action OTF by Heratech, which is the Hydra V3. So I've had some experience with single action OTFs. And on this particular one, as you know, you can see that there's this slide button. You need to slide this back, yeah? And once you slide this back, and you can see the gap is literally nothing. That's all the effort that was required to slide this part of the activator back, and then you push in and the knife will deploy, okay? So let me just show you that now. In fact, let me show you without moving the button back. So if I press, you can probably hear that. Let me put it close to the mic. So with the button, with the activator switch or safety switch forward with that tiny little gap there that I'm sure you can see, when you press in, nothing's going to happen. And you can almost hear the clicky, twangy sound of some kind of spring preventing you from pushing the button in. And pay attention to here, this part here. I don't know if yeah, I must be able to get an angle. Pay attention here. Hold on. Let me get my torch. Maybe that will help. There you go. Pay attention to how much of the around the button is raised and it's actually above the kind of chamfered surround there. Can you see that? You can see that it's raised, okay? So pay attention to that. And when you see the button is raised and you have a little gap here on the safety switch, you know you can press this all day long and nothing's going to happen. So if we want to deploy the knife, what we need to do, and it's a good idea to actually practice this, just practice pulling that spring back just on its own. You can hear it because it's trying to actually, and it's actually rips off your skin. Apologies about that. It's actually trying to pull itself forward. So there's actually some kind of spring mechanism in there to force this forward. Okay. So once you push this back, it's a two-way motion. You pull this back and then you press in. So it's back and then in. Okay. So like this. And there she is. Let's just check. Okay. Fully deployed, completely locked out. Okay. Now, pay attention here. Look at the button. I don't know if you noticed before, you can see the kind of surrounded chamfered edge. It's now lower. It's now lower. The button is now lower than the surrounding edge. The only thing that is actually sticking above it now is that safety switch. Okay. And you can see also the gap between here. Do you remember there was a space here, maybe 0.5 millimeter? That gap is non-existent now. So basically this safety switch is all the way back, more or less like 90% back. Okay. And pay attention to that, because that means if you have the knife retracted and you see your button is recessed like this and that activator is like that, that means the slightest touch and this blade is going to shoot out. And trust me, how do I know? Because it happened to me today that I actually had this knife fully retracted in my back pocket. I went to take it out and I looked at the button and the button was exactly like this. I pushed the button in. I didn't do the drag back motion, push it in, the knife shot out. I was like, oh my God, thank God this didn't shoot out while it was in my back pocket. Thank God for that. Okay. So basically when you see the button is recessed inside this area and this bit is back, that means you don't need to do anything to this safety switch. All you need to do is just press the button in and it will go in, okay, with no resistance. And so I initially thought that to actually retract the knife, I would need to do the action again where I pull this safety switch back and push in. But no, at this stage, when the blade is fully deployed, locked out, all you need to do is push in. So I'm going to push in and of course, retract the blade, let go and push in. And I just want to note at this stage that the detent, you have very nice sprung balls here. The detent on this back charging handle is really, really firm and really crisp. It's just amazing. Amazing. Okay, so let's go back to this safety switch and the button now. Pay attention again. Can you see that you have your gap here again and the button is raised above? Is it raised? Yes, it's raised above the surrounding chamfer. I'm not getting it yet. You can see it right there, right there. Okay, so when you have your blade retracted like this and the spring is under pressure and you're worried that, oh, you might accidentally press this button or you give it to somebody to look at the knife and they might press it accidentally, as long as this button is up and you have your gap here, and a good thing I would recommend you do is just ever so lightly keep pressing that forward just to make sure you have the gap. You can do this all day long and nothing is going to happen. On that note, I realized I forgot to tell you something actually, because I'm actually wearing it here. The knife, let me just move this to the side for 1 second. The knife actually comes also with this. And It's okay. It's nicely designed. It's got this kind of fake carbon fiber pattern here, this outer part here. And what I don't like about this, and I'm most likely not going to use this, is there is no lock on this. So it's basically just a normal push and you can flip open. Obviously you can change the angles to which you want to wear this on your belt, but there's no locking mechanism. It's literally click in place and you can't slide it to prevent this from being pushed up. You can see it just, that's it. But the knife just does fit in there very, very well. It holds it really, really secure. But I think if you go, and I mean super secure, yeah, you really, really need to pull this out really hard to get it out of the holder. And this is why I wanted to revert back to the DLC coating. If you do this like hundreds of times, you're going to see the wear just on the front part of the knife from when you've got it in this holder, and the rest of the knife is probably going to look okay. So that's why I'm not happy with this black oxide coating. They really should have done better with that. Anyway, so yes, it comes with this. It comes in the box, which is good. I'm not actually sure if the Draco came with one, or if they had to send it afterwards, I don't know. But anyway, that was basically their first effort into single action OTFs. Their second effort is excellent, excellent. Okay, so basically that's it. I would say that's the most important thing about this knife. And if you pay attention and you're wary of this, then it should be okay. You shouldn't have any problem as long as you're just pressing straight in. And if you want to hand it to a friend, just double check you have that gap there. The button is raised, you can hand it to them and just warn them, okay? When you're ready to deploy, can you hear? It's the most slightest of movements down and in. Okay, and you can see I have the Tanto variant of this. And what I didn't actually realize was that you have 3 sharpened edges, not fully on the top, but this here and the top is actually sharpened as well. It's a bit like that Core Edge, I can't remember which one, the Core Edge OTF, which is actually a double action OTF, which is perfectly centered. They have a version of the blade shape, which is a Tanto, and it's sharpened fully on all 3 edges. This is kind of semi, but that's actually quite useful. But you need to be careful because this blade is razor laser sharp. I don't know what it is about Heretic and Microtech, but all my Microtechs and Heretic they're super sharp. Yeah, and this is also the same. Okay. I didn't talk about the blade still, which is M390, but I think most of you watching this video already know that. So they have like a kind of spare point variation, but it's not really a spare point because it's sharp again like this on this side, and it's sharp up until it gets to this hook part, which the locking mechanism goes into, and then the rest of it is like a ridge, okay? And then you have the same thing on the higher end versions. They're just using titanium DLC and some really nice exotic finishes on the inside here or on the outer insert holder, so to speak, yeah? So, okay, just, yeah, okay, let me just do that again. Again, just to point out, you can see the button is recessed inside this surrounding area. So all I need to do is press and pull back. And one tip I will give you actually that I do with my Hydra is I'm right-handed, and it's a shame they don't have this for left-handed people. But I tried deploying this with my left hand. It does feel awkward. So it's a shame they don't have left-handed versions. But with my single action OTFs, I normally deploy with this hand. And when I'm retracting the blade, I know some people still keep their right hand on the knife and use the left to, retract the blade. I don't do that. I deploy with the right, I swap to my left, press in the button, and I retract with my right. Let go, push in. I always find it more natural for me. I don't know if you do that yourselves, but give it a try. Anyway, okay, yeah, one other thing I wanted to say was about the lockout. Now, I'm not sure how many times I have deployed this. It's probably between 100 and 200 times, okay? And I have had a couple of instances where the blade did not fully lock out, okay? And I'm still experimenting with this, but I think it's a question of doing what I said, just putting that switch back And when you push in, just keep holding until the blade is out. Because I think there could be a tendency, I mean, we're humans, we're not going to deploy the knife exactly the same way every time. But I think there's some instances where maybe it's possible I let go too early. Just a micro movement of letting go too early, which is enough to stop the blade from fully locking out. I think that's what happens. So far I've been experimenting with the drawback, and when I push in, oh, I didn't, I didn't pull it back further enough there. So draw back, I'm pushing and keep it held down and let go afterwards. Let me see, fully locked out, fully locked out. And the lockout on this is just amazing. It's really just, there's no movement side to side, up and down. It's just, and this is what I love about single action OTFs, is the centering of the knife. It's just, I love it, okay? And I really love this Tanto, American Tanto blade shape as well. It's one of my favorites. Actually, the only other blade shape that I love is more like a harpoony kind of style of blade, which I have here on this stitch. I absolutely love harpoon and Tanto shaped blades. My absolute favorite, okay? Okay, so again, retracting, you don't need to do any movements down. It's just inside, and pull. Let go. And I'm not going to push the the charging handle in yet. I believe this is also 7075 aluminium, and I don't think I'm wrong, but I believe this is one single piece of aluminium. Maxace, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I couldn't see anything where it's been joined. So I'm assuming this has been carved out of one block of aluminium. And if that's the case, that's absolutely amazing. Okay, you can see here, maybe you can't, there's some slight little grooves in my pen where the detent balls run over. Can you see them there? Which helps for them to slide in to these little holes there and firmly lock the charging handle in place. Okay? Okay. Actually, one other thing I wish they would do, which is an absolute tiny nitpick, but I wish that they made the casing look more like an integral by really smoothing out this partition, really smoothing it out where the two handles meet together. So I'll give you an example. Again, let me get the Krypton, large Krypton by Riat and Tashi Barucha. The way they have done and made this knife, you would look at it and at first glance, you would think this is an integral because of how smoothly they machined the two handles together. But if you look closely and you get it in the right light, you can see the line where the two handles meet. Yeah, you can see it there. But if you just have it in a certain light, you cannot tell. It's just absolutely amazing what they did here. I really love this knife. It's amazing, by the way. And I wish that on the next batch that maybe Maxace, because I know they've got it in them, maybe they can do that and smooth it out to really make it like a complete integral. And when I say I am nitpicking, I mean I am ultra nitpicking. They don't need to do that. That's just completely minor. The thing I wish they would do is DLC coating, DLC everything, and maybe they might even do a DLC version of the blade as well, but that's completely not even, I don't even care about that. Okay, so like I said, I have Heretic Hydra V3, and they've come out with a V4 now. I think my finger's going to start bleeding again. They've come out with a V4 now, and to be honest, I actually don't like the way the V4 looks. They've smoothed this hump a bit more and made it a little bit more slender, and I actually prefer this version and even the version 2s actually. But again, I have a Tanto, as you know, I love Tanto blade shapes. And what's so good about this particular knife, if you compare it to, it's actually, I mean, this thing just dwarfs this Hydra. But what's so good about the activation button on this one is the safety is just, I mean, it's blatantly obvious. And all you need to do is, again, 2-action motion. You slide this down with your finger, with your thumb, and then you press in to to activate this one. And it's very obvious because look how much movement you're doing there to move this safety cover out the way before you press this big button here. And compared to the Maxace, it's just a slight movement. So that's what you've got to be aware of, okay? And again, with this one, I use my left hand to press the button in. And on this one, when the blade is deployed, the button stays fully out. So you need to really press in on this one, like you would when you're deploying the knife. And there you go. I'll just give you also a little tip is that what I normally do with any knife that I have where there's a spring in it that is under tension, as in single action OTFs or OTS knives, out the side knives, I always leave them fully deployed. Like my, I think I've had maybe one or two, maybe, how long have I had this? 1.5 years? I think I've had maybe 3, maximum 4. Okay, let's just round it up to 5. Maybe 5 times where this blade did not fully deploy either. Okay, and what I have tended to do again is just keep the button pressed in a little bit longer than you would do normally, fully locked out by the way. And one thing I also do is I keep this knife, when I store it, not using it, I keep it like this, fully deployed, because I want to have the least amount of tension on the spring as possible. And with this one as well, the same. So these are stored like this. And also, for example, I have a number of automatic knives out, this OTS knives. I keep them all like this so that there's no tension on the spring. Because yeah, I mean, so I know some people say it doesn't make a difference. I believe it does, yeah. There's a difference with this spring now being under more tension than when the blade is deployed, okay? So that's just a little tip for you right there. Okay, I'm just gonna wrap up the video now because there's nothing else to say other than I absolutely love this knife. I was actually really blown away by it just feels so chunky. It's nice and thick and wide, and I love the way how I'm not sure, I didn't have a Draco, I never handled one, but it seems they've really extended the width of the way it tails out here, and it just feels so good in the hand, and it's absolutely massive. And I do like big knives, but I think the perfect knife size is the one that really fits your hand. But oh my God, I absolutely love this. This knife, actually, like I said, I have a small knife collection, but this knife is now my #1 knife. It's just knocked everything out of it destroyed everything. It used to be my Hydra, okay? But in fact, I'll tell a lie, it wasn't my Hydra, my Stitch, this one, okay, here we go, hold on. So my original Stitch, this was my #1. I really loved it. And I was waiting for a DLC version because I didn't want the Cerakote surface treated version. And I eventually got one. And this, I would say this one was my absolute favorite knife in my collection for a long time. Okay. Then I have this habit of, before I buy a knife, I rate it out of 10, what I think about it. And when I get it, I constantly going over my knife collection and rating them out of 10. But when I got this next knife, this one is at 10. So I've got a number of 10, what I would say 10 out of 10 knives, okay? This for me is a 10 out of 10 knife. This is a 10 out of 10 knife. This is a 10 out of 10 knife. And this was my favorite knife in my collection. Because I asked myself the question, if you have, of all the knives that you have, if you were only allowed to take one knife with you and you had to get rid of the rest, which knife would you take? And for me, it was this. Okay, so this is the Lota Combat Karma Gen 3 Akan Viper Ghost. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. And this is one solid piece of M390. And then you have aluminium, I think 70-75 aluminium scales. And this thing is just ridiculously comfortable to hold and extremely sharp. And this is my #1 knife. If I had to take just one knife out of my collection and get rid of the rest, this was it. as of yesterday, the Maxace has replaced this. That's how much I like this knife, or love this knife, I should say. I really highly recommend it. It's not for everybody, as I said, but if you're into OTFs, actually, what did I get okay. 2 knives I got actually that I was super impressed with the other day. I got them over the Christmas period. This is the Chavez Chub OTF, okay. I was super impressed, and this is where I got this cut from actually, from this knife. I was super impressed with the quality of this, the color. It's my best utility knife. It's absolutely amazing, and I was so impressed with that. Then I got also, a few weeks later, a combat Trudon, which I didn't think I would actually end up getting, but I absolutely love this. Again, this is another 10 out of 10. But this Blacklight 03 has just, for me, it's just destroyed them. Not destroyed them, but I just love it much more than all of the rest of them. The design, the functionality, these little quirks, the weight of it. This is 209 grams, by the way. The weight, the heft, the feel, the deployment mechanism, the retraction, everything about this I love. I think Maxace have done an excellent job, and I commend them for that. This is it. This is my #1 knife in my collection, and I absolutely love it. Anyway, that's it. First video for this channel. What I might do is start actually uploading other videos on maybe doing reviews on other knives and maybe get into this. Let me know in the comments if I should do that. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.